Hello, everybody. My name is Clarissa Gainey. I am the founder and CEO of Bright Creative, and I'm also a professor of graphic design here at Augusta University. I've been a professor for a long time and a designer for over 2 decades. And I wanted to talk to you, just take a few moments to talk to you about this thing that has been on my mind for a while. I wanted to talk to you about the differences between reality and perception in the digital world. Of course, that is our nature to want to be received, to be respected, and to feel loved. But recently, with all of the social media going on and this desire that we have to project a certain image online, that has been messing up things a little bit. We can see that it actually became a very serious issue among teenagers, not only in this country, in the United States, but all over the world. We have this certain perception that if people don't click that like button in our social media, that we're actually not being well received, that people actually don't like us, that they don't like what we have to say, that they don't like who we are, and so on and so forth. But I wanted to take a few moments, just a few moments, to help us just discuss and think about this topic. I've been a business owner for a few years now, and I've been helping some business owners, usually small business owners. Maybe one of you listening to this message owns a business and is trying to run a business while you run your social media. And I know that that task can be sometimes impossible. Social media is a beast that cannot and won't sometimes be damned, be. So sometimes social media will feel that like this beast that cannot be tamed, that cannot be calmed down, and it can be frustrating. So what I would like for you to think is there is this big difference between the number of likes and what you're getting from your social media. I want to take just you through this path to think about the most important metric, the most important key metric that you can use in social media. So I want you to think, is my social media helping me grow my business? Because in the reality, it doesn't really matter the number of likes, even the number of followers that you have. Sometimes you're going to have people who are not following you, but will every now and then go back to your page and check your content and feel inspired and encouraged, even learn something from you, and then they will begin to trust you. The reality is that the number of likes, the number of comments, they're pretty much empty if you don't get, on the other hand, if you don't get the return of investment that you're aiming for. So the most important thing for you in your social media or even in your website is to know that you are reaching the right people, that you are communicating the right message, a relevant message to people who are willing to listen to you. So are these people becoming your clients? That's what matters. Are people becoming followers? How good will that do to your business? So in the end, when we think of the digital world, the most important thing is the conversion rate that you're going to get from your presence online. So let's think a little bit about how to build a more relevant image and presence online. So a lot of people think, especially if you're not really familiar with social media, messaging, storytelling, design, layout, you might think, okay, so the most important thing for me is to post every day and to just show people my product and to tell them that I'm here, right? Not necessarily. The most important thing that we as the audience, your specific audience, probably wants to hear is, How can your message impact my life? So the first thing that you need to think about is, how can I create a relevant message that is going to emotionally create an emotional connection with my audience? And odds are that you're probably not going to do that by posting the photo of a product and trying to sell it. That it's not by posting a photo of you with your phone number and email for people to contact you. Because we see that over and over and over again. So we don't perceive that as a relevant message. But let's say that you are in the landscaping business. How about sharing some tips about your business? How about sharing some tips about landscaping and plants and plant maintenance? Things that we can relate to, that we can learn from, and then that way that person will continue to come back and visit your page and potentially become a client. So as a rule for me as a professional, I tend to think, well, 80% of the content that I share should be about things that are going to benefit the audience's life. So if 80% I dedicate to creating and sharing about a lifestyle with my audience, the other 20% I talk about the business. The truth is that we're all surrounded by all of these messages 24/7 that are saying, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. We go to the grocery store and we see thousands of brands. We're driving our cars, we see billboards, we see businesses, signages, and we see all kinds of things that are telling us and commanding us to do something. So I'd like to encourage you to use social media to create a different channel for you to share about a lifestyle with your audience. The most important thing about your social media message is for you to try to create an emotional connection with your audience. So when you start to do that, they are going to start to perceive you differently. They're going to start to perceive you as an account, as a brand, as an authority in the subject, in the industry that you're in. And so you're potentially having a higher ability to convert that audience into clients. So again, the perception of that people will have from you in your social media versus the reality, they need to kind of match. So if they just perceive you as someone who makes these really brilliant videos that go viral, or maybe you're even on the other side of that, you don't even get one like, that's why you're not reaching people's emotions. You're not making that emotional connection with people. And even if you do create viral videos, how is that converting? How is that helping you grow your business? So to keep us on track, the first thing that you need to do to make your perception match the reality of your business and convert this audience as clients is to make sure that you're sharing about a lifestyle. So this is about the storytelling. What is the story that you're telling through your digital channels? And that starts not just with your social media, that involves your website, that involves all commercials, everything. So the storytelling is a very important part of your digital presence. The second thing are your visuals. So we have been talking a lot about visual perception and how we perceive environments as either happy or not happy. We know that there's a psychology behind colors. So, but are you using that to your advantage? So what I'd like for you to do in the second step, where we're going to talk about colors, is take a look at your own brand. So what is the color palette that you use in your business? Or what's the color palette that you use in your social media? Maybe you're an independent contractor. Maybe you have a medium-sized business. Whatever the case is, you need to see and look at your color palette and think, what are these colors saying? And what kind of message can I send by using color as a support actor on the stage? So maybe your primary color is blue, deep blue. But we know that blue is a color that inspires confidence and reliance. So you should take advantage of that and use that color. So whatever color palette you're using, take a step back and think about how you're using the psychology of color in your favor. Because color will impact people's reactions, people's response, and you are the one responsible to take control over that in your digital channels. The third thing is typography. And yes, here's the teacher in me trying to share a little bit with you about design. Typography will play a really important role as well as color, as well as messaging. So one thing that I always tell my students is there are some fonts that are off limits that you can never use. And I always start that list with Papyrus. And then following Papyrus, Comic Sans. And there are other fonts that were designed for very specific uses, but because people tend to like them, tend to like the story behind them, they bring those fonts into their own businesses and use them. But I would like to encourage you, stay away from those two. And why? They don't have a great legibility. So when you're online, you're reading something and they're not really as sharp and clean for your audience to see them, especially if they're looking at your content in their mobile devices. And Papyrus has this very Egyptian papyrus-like style. So there is a time and a place to use a font like that. The same is valid for Comic Sans. Comic Sans was created to be used in comic books. So that's not a font that you want to have in your business, because that will convey the idea of comics instead of reliance, independence, and trust. So stick to something that is simple. Stick to something that is going to be more neutral, and use typography just as a tool to share your content, to share what you have to tell, the message that you have to tell your audience. Don't rely on typography to carry any emotional message, any kind of personality. Just keep it neutral, keep it simple, and work with other more important elements. So, and finally, I also want to encourage you to look for other digital tools that are free, that are available to you, and that you can build your own brand using those tools like Canva that already have a clear set of fonts, colors, and imagery that can help you. But remember, you are the one who has the control. You are the one who understand and know your audience at a level that Canva created doesn't. So tweak the tools, tweak the digital assets to make them work for you. Because after all, the one thing that we cannot change is people are going to perceive your business a certain way. What you can control is how do I want them to perceive my business? Now, there are things that are outside our control, of course, but if you can control the messaging, if you can control the psychology of color, how that color is going to communicate a message that is non-verbal with the audience, and how is typography going to be just a channel to communicate a message that's not going to evoke any emotions or anything like that, then you are in a much better shape to try to convey that clear message to your audience. You don't want to be misunderstood. You don't want to be misperceived. So control those areas and make sure that you are putting in all the efforts that you can to reach your audience at an emotional level. So I hope that my talk helped and inspired you to understand a little bit more between the reality versus the perception, and to make you just give you that little bit of food for thought to help you bring those two together so that you can effectively have a return of investment when you work on your digital assets. So I hope that this helps, and I hope that you have a lovely rest of Summit. Thank you and goodbye.